That kind of leads us right into you, Mary, because I think your next one, and you're going to be talking about patterns a little bit, right?
Right. One of the things I found in teaching online, the children were very, very willing to volunteer and be the solo singer. I don't know why that was so different for me than being in class. But I would say, is there anyone out there, after we had been doing, for example, so, mi, do, and we had been doing it, you know, for weeks and weeks, and or a few weeks, and I was watching them. I could see they were singing, because I would say, now, did you really sing? I'm not sure. I didn't hear you. Try again. Let's do it again. And then when I also would practice it, I would go like, so, mi, do, just give them this feel on their body for this note's high, this one's in the middle, this one's down low. Then when I asked them, is there anyone out there who'd like to sing by themselves? Oh my goodness, they all wanted a turn. I have 6 kids, and just one by one, I was tending to teach the classes, for the most part, everyone muted, because we could get this weird feedback loops, things that I could not control, sounds, the lawnmower outside the window, all kinds of sounds would start. So then I would have to just mute everybody, and it was just better to just say, well, stay muted. But then I would say, Cecilia, will you unmute? And by then, all the kids knew how to do it, and the parent was always on the side just hitting it. And I would sing a pattern, she would sing it back. I was amazed at how willing they sang. Now, I just really found it great. And then when one kid did it, everybody wanted to do it. And every week we took turns with solo singing then, and that was just so lovely. And also with the rhythm patterns. Now, one of the things I found, I'm going to bring this over real quick, is, and I'm sure everybody's got one of these, this one's a metal music stand. Now yes, right, just like that, Ellen. And I found initially I had put everything on PDFs, and I would just share my screen and use the cursor to kind of like the bouncing ball when we were getting ready to read, when we got to that point. But then what I found was it was more engaging for sure, because I asked some parents, does your child walk away when that happens, or are they really parent? Well, I had to get them over there and say, let's look at the notes together or whatever. But when I did this and introduced it and put it right up there, and then I'd bring it back and say, I'm going to put that one right here with a magnet. And I made it be something they saw right after we had been doing it. It was a game changer. I did this. This works for listening to animals. Much better, much better than sharing my screen. Much better, because they still saw me, and that was important, right? And I didn't realize it until the first time I did it. And then I asked for some feedback from the parents, and they said, oh my gosh, they couldn't walk away. They wanted to see those cards. They wanted to see you and you doing crazy stuff to the cards, like, I have no idea what my hand's doing right now. I wonder which one that was. And then all of a sudden everybody trying to tell me, oh, Miss Mary, that was do. They're all trying to unmute and tell me, oh, are you sure? Oh, you're right. So I would just get kind of crazy, and I did that with rhythm cards. I did it with, right? Yeah, so for our major patterns, I did the same thing and did things like, and so I would just always be like a teacher in a classroom, but just be right here. And it just was beautiful. It worked so well. The kids would get out their cards that they had then and show us in the screen. And that was really fun. So I would say, can you find do? Say that, do. And go find that card. They're showing me. So I really have to say, I don't know. I didn't think of it all the time. I went, I got little magnets. This might work. Yes, so much better than sharing the screen, which was so unpredictable. And I couldn't see what they were doing. So I didn't know if they were really watching or did they walk away now? Now I know that they're right there. They're interacting with a person. They need the person to interact with to make it meaningful as well, or as part of it, you know. So that's all.
I love that. The one thing that's been interesting, I'd love to hear yours and Ellen's take on this, because I did similar. I've done it a couple different ways. I also have a camera going down, but I agree. You know, and they were all seeing my cards on the screen, and they were all the right way for them. But then sometimes I would switch it to where I was holding it. But I love your stand idea, and I hadn't used that because I use my stands for other things while I'm doing this. But my question is this: I found that in Music Makers more Music Makers Home than World, so that age, that they would want to point to their card like they were teaching.
Yes.
I would either get that, or I would get them, they would be looking at it upside down, and I cannot figure out why when they showed the camera on their cards, it was like going the wrong way. And I'd tell the parents, please make sure that the card is facing them. I think they wanted it so that I could see it, but I kept telling them the card, they need to be reading the card left to right, looking at it and pointing to the note heads. So I'd love to hear your guys' take on that, but that was a little place that I had some difficulty communicating. But I love the stand and the magnets. That's fantastic.
The magnet, genius. I've been using tape. I never even thought that this is magnetic. Duh.
I know, right?
Wow, you're gonna save me a lot of tape. I'm untaping things. You know, I take out my cards and it'd be zipping off, and part of the card would fall off. Be like, oh no.
I have small magnets for sale. Just contact me.
Box them. I never even.
You can buy magnet tape too, just to get that little. Have you ever seen the magnet tape?
Yeah, you mean like
it's in a roll? It's a roll, yeah, and you just peel off the amount you want, clip it, peel off the back, and you're good to go.
Boy, more stuff.
More stuff.
Yeah.
Staple.
This has been a lifesaver because you're right. They want to see your face, and it helps on the modeling too when you're and. So I do insist for the older students, especially when they have their books and we're doing a song page, I really want to see them doing what we did in class. I am noticing that, and when I've had some students come back for keyboard, and what I'm doing is I'm continuing to use this. Might have two sets, one on the floor in front of me for the model, but also one up here because they can just see it better. So and then if I can watch to see if anyone's doing something weird with this view versus this view, I can always, but that's always been an issue. You can think of music makers when you're first showing them that and you want them behind you.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're in person, couldn't we now put it this, maybe put this a little flatter? So that they have more. You remember how kids, I can't see.
Yeah.
What, raised it up a little, but we still keep it kind of flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to play with this, but I like.
And I'm sorry, I was going to say another thing you can do that I had to do for a town hall that I did this week was I made a giant one. So here's the normal size, you know, and it's not that much different, but all I did was put it on my, you know, printer and said fit to screen, and I came up with this. I could probably make it even bigger, but that was a help because of the what happens is the lines are hard to see. The stems can be difficult to see depending on your lighting probably at that moment. And I went over this with marker to make it like super just thickened up the stems a little bit. But that made a big difference. So I thought, ooh, I might use that, you know, moving forward. Online.
Right. So to actually use that in your classroom setting to go ahead and Jenny's
Right.
actually right.
What's wrong with Miss Amy? What is she doing?
Yeah,
Do-do-do or do-do-do?
I know what you mean when you were saying that they would be looking at it with the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
Because they're
Yeah.
trying to show it to me.
Yeah.
I consider those problems minor because, yeah, you know, they're not,
Yeah.
their tracking at age 4 might be a little different from my tracking. So,
Yeah.
I
guess, yeah.
and I don't mind that they think that this looks like notes too. Like the first time I remember reading rhythms and the note stem went down, I was like, what the heck is that? You've got it all wrong. We've been reading rhythms with stems up forever.
Yeah.
What are you showing me?
What is that? Yeah, well, it's just like graphic notation cards. All of those blue graphic notation cards you can turn over,
Right.
and all of a sudden, woo, 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 ends up being
Right.
woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
Also within the box. Very nice. Yeah. So,
Turning them over and then having them make compositions, and they can turn the card any way they want.
right.
And that's
Totally.
really fun to do.
Taking it a step further, using, visuals to help the children be organized at home. When we were working on Old Gray Cat, and I've always turned that into a duet. Many of the children are just not ready for those more complex left-hand parts. Some classes are different, but I always get a few where, they can just get that right hand, and we've expanded. And I happen to have 4 children in a online class, so I would assign them.
Oh.
Yeah, and then, the cat stalking. And what I would do then, I'd put this on here so that they could see it. Now, I had to, some of them I couldn't read, but they definitely knew the picture. And then while the one child was playing the sound, the other children would be moving to the sound. That kept them moving, and it also, they're accompanying, which was cool. And we could also then talk about cat versus mouse position on the piano, octaves. And of course, some of them really wanted to make the mouse really high, and then we could talk articulation. But this kept them centered by putting this right in front. Oh, they knew what we were into. And of course, if they were calling, and they'd forget who, well, I'd forget. So I would have their name. So that, and then I would, tape up here. And so they knew it would be their turn next. So then the activity became instantly organized, and they knew what was going to happen next. And they didn't have to unmute again and say, what are we doing, Ellen? What page are we on, Ellen? What chord are you doing, Ellen? And then I would, or what was that fingering you mentioned again for that? Oh yeah, you remember the fingering?
Uh-huh.
Now, this is coming later because they're already doing those note naming pages where they are connecting do, so, and mi to letter names, and we are connecting fingering, and we've done it orally, and we've done it, but this keeps them organized. So when they glitch out and they come back, they can pop right in without me having to re-explain where we are. So these little, again, not to take place of the oral prep, just to keep them in the activity. So, yeah.
Yeah, so when they blank out and their brains are wandering around wherever they're wandering, out in the dandelions, that they can come back and still know what to do.
So, this has lots of great use.